Good evening. I just got back from work and I had my dinner, and then I thought I wanted to tell you a story. This story is about when I was in Australia. I had been hitchhiking all the way around Australia, from Sydney all the way up the east coast. I had been down to Ayers Rock, and now I had arrived in Darwin. Right away I actually saw that Darwin was a very nice place. I liked it, and it was very easygoing. It was a big town, but it didn't seem so because the buildings are not tall or anything. At least they were not tall back then. I don't know how it is now, so many years ago. But anyway, while I was in Darwin, I enjoyed myself and, went to discos and stuff like that. And I stayed at a guest house, a hostel. And it was all good. I spent a week in Darwin. And then I decided I needed to go back down. I wanted to see if I could go back down the road from Darwin and see if I could find a way to get to West Australia, to Perth and that area. But I started, as always, walked out of Darwin and found a good place to hitchhike. And I got a lift, fairly easy, didn't take long. But he was not going very far. He was only going 60 kilometers south of Darwin. And I figured, well, it's okay. Then I'm on my way. So I just agreed and got in, and we drove the 60 kilometer, and I got out. And then at this time, I noticed that my water bottle was actually empty. And, go hitchhiking in Australia with an empty water bottle. It's very hot up there in the desert, and you would need something to drink. So I thought, oh well, let me have a look. Because in Australia, when you get a lift with the car, as I told before, people always give you, or at least almost always give you their name and phone number. And sometimes they even give you their address. And I was like, I recognized the name of some little town, and I've seen that name. So I picked out my book. I had this small notebook where I wrote all the info, all the when people gave me their phone number and addresses and stuff like that. And I looked in the book and I found actually an address, and it was like, I think it was 2 kilometers away from where I was. So I figured, oh, that's cool. So I'm gonna walk 2 kilometers. It was like just 1 kilometer down the highway, and then 1 kilometer in a small road into a farm. And I figured I will go in there and ask if I can have some water. Because the town was further away. And if I had a lift, maybe I would get dropped off in the middle of the desert. So I needed to get some water. So I walked to the farm, and I arrived there, and I figured, oh well, just go knock the door. And because there was no one outside, so I went, knocked the door. And it was, as far as I remember, it was a Saturday. So the family was home, and they were actually around the kitchen table having their breakfast. And the best part of it is that they were actually happy to see me. They were like, oh, hi, we just talked about you. I was like, oi, okay. and they said, how did you find your way here? I told them I got a lift and I walked for 2 kilometers. And the husband, he was like, but why didn't you just call us when you were in the area? I was like, 2 kilometers, no problem. It was easy walked. So yeah, come on in, sit down, have some breakfast. And I was like, well, actually, I just came to ask if I could have some water, because my water bottle is empty. And they went, no, it's okay. You can have water, but we want to talk to you. I was, oh, well, okay. So I sat down around at this kitchen table, and the family the dad was originally from Germany, and he had moved to stay in Australia some years back. And the wife was actually Thai. And then they met I believe they met in Darwin. I'm actually not sure how they met, but it doesn't really matter. And then they had a daughter, and I believe she was 9 or 10 years old. And it was so funny because this family, the dad, as I say, he was German, 100% German. He loved German food. He listened to German music. German. The wife, she was Thai. She loved Thai food, and she loved to cook Thai food. But yeah, she was Thai, 100%. And loved to listen to Thai music and eat Thai food and so on, you know. And the daughter, this 9 or 10-year-old daughter, she was 100% Australian. She was an Aussie with a very big A. And it was so funny because the way she spoke, it was like a native. Well, she was born in Australia, and her behavior and what she wanted to eat and everything was just Australian. It was so funny because this home was just, there was 2 nationalities, but they were for sure 3 cultures. And it was so much fun. But anyway, they wanted to talk to me. And I sat down at the table, as I said, and had some breakfast, and we were talking. And then the dad, he said, yeah, it was because they were going to build a veranda. They had one on one side of the house, and they wanted to make one on the other side of the house too. But a lot of the work was too heavy for him to do alone, and the wife couldn't do stuff like that. So he was kind of, either he had to ask friends to come help, and then he was only able to do the work when the friends had time, or he could hire someone to help him. And the reason why I knew these people was they gave me a lift early on my trip. And it was not very far, but it was like we had the chance to talk, you know, and I don't know how we get into it, but I talked about that I was kind of a handyman and you know, and they remembered this, so they wanted to get in contact with me. So it was very good, you know. So, and obviously this was a dream scenario for me, because this way I got to stay with the Australian family, well, Thai, German, Australian family in Australia, to see the country like the natives. And it was just perfect. That's exactly what I want when I go somewhere. So I agreed to this right away and said, yeah, sure, I would love to stay. I would love to help you. And in general, I love these kind of projects. So it was very good. So I stayed there. And building this veranda, that's one part of it. But the whole experience of staying with the family as a guest, and at the same time, very quickly, I became part of the family. It was like, I think it was like already the 2nd or the 3rd day, I felt like I'm not a guest. I'm here because I'm part of the family. I was 100% accepted, like so, and they trusted me, and I trusted them, and it was just wonderful. And everything they did, it was not like everything they did. When they wanted to go somewhere, they asked if I wanted to come. We went on a camping trip to Kakadu National Park. I want to tell you about this. I was excellent. They had some friends, and those friends, the husband was Australian, and he was Aussie, really big time Aussie. And I like the Australian way, the way they look at life. They're so relaxed, and don't worry, it'll be all right. And it's no matter what, they we didn't have time to finish today, we'll just finish tomorrow. It's okay. And I like that way to look at life, And his wife was also Thai. I guess that's why they knew each other. And they also had they had a daughter. She was a bit younger, but so they wanted to go camping in Kakadu National Park, and it was like, I do not even think they asked if I wanted to go. It was just like, of course I wanted to go. It was a family trip, so I was supposed to go too. And we drove there in 2 cars. Klaus, the husband in the family where I stayed, his name was Klaus. And the wife, no, I'm sorry, I don't remember the wife's name. And right now the daughter's name also slipped me, sorry. But anyway, Klaus was driving their ute, as they call it. This is what you in America call it, a truck. It was a Toyota, it's like a Land Cruiser or something like that, a 4-wheel drive truck, pickup truck. And the husband in the other family, I believe his name was Bruce. Yeah. He was driving a pickup truck as well. And I don't remember if it was I must have been a 4-wheel drive too. And he also pulled a trailer with a small metal boat. And I remember they called it a dinghy. A dinghy, small metal dinghy. And then when we arrived the national park, the place where we wanted to go, they told me that this place was called 4 Mile Hole. And it was inside the national park, and Bruce, he knew a place where we could stay and where we could camp. I brought my tent. I had this small triangular tent. And Bruce and his wife and their daughter, they slept in another tent. It's a little bit bigger than, that's a bit bigger than my one. And Klaus and his family, they stayed in that was a strange tent, because it was like, the roof was like normal tent material. If you imagine a tent, there's just a square, and then the walls in the tent was mosquito net. And that was actually perfect for Australia, because it's so hot. So you need the air to go through, and it's a great tent in Australia. But anyway, we pitched tents and made camp, and then they wanted to go fishing. And it was like the wives, they were going to stand with their fishing rods on the bank of the river, or the creek, yeah. And the guys, we were going to go in the boat. And we were going to go trawling, they call it. So we get in the boat. It's just room enough for the 3 of us. On the back there was a small outboard motor. And then it had it's like pipes on the back of the boat, where you throw the line. They had 2 fishing rods. So they throw the line out from those 2 fishing rods and put them in the pipe, so they stand at the end of the boat, so you don't have to hold them. And then they had a cooler in the boat, and I have a feeling that was the most important part of the trip. And obviously the cooler was full of beer, cans of beer. So they set the engine to run forward, not very fast, but just And as soon as that was done, the hooks were out and the engine was set as it was supposed to be, then it was time for a beer. And then we went from one end of the creek to the other end of the creek. And when we get out there, they pull the line in, check no fish, put new bait, throw the hooks, start the engine, and start sailing. And then it was time to a beer. And we were going like that back and forth on this creek all afternoon, you know. And well, yeah, we did have some beers. I didn't drink that much because I can't. I get drunk. But these two Australian guys, gosh, they had a lot. But they were enjoying themselves, and it was all cool. And they were not like drunk. They were in good mood. So it was all good. And then at one point we get to one end of the creek, and they pull in the fishing line. And then right when they pull the fishing line out of the water, when they pull the lure out of the water, a big crocodile, or actually two big crocodiles, came up and started fighting each other. You know, this part, Kakadu National Park, this part of Australia, there's a lot of crocodiles, I tell you. And it's like no surprise to see crocs. So these two started fighting each other. For me, it was a surprise. I never seen a crocodile in real life before. So I was like, whoa. But the two guys, they just, I guess no fish here. And then we went to the other end of the lake, the creek, a little bit faster than normal and no time for beer. And then down at that end, they threw the lines out, and we did a couple of more trips, and we did catch some. We catch some catfish. We didn't get anything else but catfish. And then they decided, nah, there's no reason to keep doing this. So they went to the bank, and actually the wives had caught more fish from the bank than we had from the boat. So but it was okay, you know. They were enjoying themselves, and so was I. It was a good experience. In the evening, they made a bonfire. They wanted to cook the fish, and obviously the wives was supposed to do this, and they had brought some pots and all kinds of stuff so they could cook Thai food. And I always liked Thai food or Asian food, so it was all good for me. And husbands, I guess they were used to it, so it was all good. So we were enjoying this food, and it was kind of spicy. Back then I could eat very spicy food, so it was not a problem. When we were finished eating, the sun had gone down, the sun has set, and it was quite dark. And then the wife of Bruce, she gathered all the plates and the pots and stuff, and she wanted to go to the creek to do the dishes. And Bruce, he was almost angry. He was like, "You're not gonna go down to the creek now. There's crocodiles down there." And he was trying to persuade her to stay at camp and don't go near the water. And she was like, it's okay. We have crocodiles in Thailand too, and no worry. And the last thing he said to her, "Okay, up to you. If you're gonna go there, at least bring a torch, bring a flashlight." And she's like, okay, whatever. So she took a flashlight, and she walked towards the water. She had put everything in a basket. And then she didn't put the flashlight on. And then he shouted, "Put the beep flashlight on." And she's like, okay. And she put the flashlight, and right in front of her was a big crocodile. You know, when you watch cartoons, I don't watch much cartoons, but I did when I was younger. When you watch cartoons, you see these things where they get scared and they just disappear and everything is just hanging in there. It was like that. I bet you. You hear car door slam at the same time as you hear everything hit the ground. I never seen a lady run that fast. She just let go of everything and ran to the car and slammed the door. It took us half an hour to get her out of the car. She didn't want to come out. Because when crocodiles sleep, they sleep with the mouth open because they're hot. And that's the only way they can cool off. So when she put the torch, the light just hit directly into an open mouth of a crocodile. And she thought it was about to eat her. Well, it would have if she had gotten much closer, but anyway, wonderful time. And obviously she was scared, and I don't blame her. I didn't go near the water at after dark. And even in daytime, you would not, go in the boat, okay, fine. But get into the water, never. Never ever in that area. It was just so much crocodiles. It was insane. But anyway, she washed the dishes the next day. So, but anyway, another funny experience. In the morning, I have to say though, it was not funny when it happened. Now I can see the funny part of it. In the morning, I wake up early. I've always been like that. At least my adult life, I've been like that, So I woke up in the morning, and it was already starting to get hot. So I thought I'm gonna get out of the tent and just sit outside and enjoy myself, because I could hear sounded like everybody else was asleep. And so I unzipped my tent and did looked out. And I think 10-15 meters away from the tent was a crocodile. This time I was the scared one. I just zipped the tent and found my knife. I had this like a hunting knife. And it was not because I thought the hunting knife could hurt the crocodile. That was not my point. My point was, if that crocodile decides to go through my tent, I can go through the tent in the other end and up the tree. Because crocodiles can run, yeah, but they can't climb trees. So keeping an eye on this crocodile, I had this small part of the top of the tent was mosquito net, and I could look out through there and look at the crocodile, and then I was with half whispering, just, Klaus. It was quiet. Klaus? I said, yeah. You seen the croc on the bank? And the only answer was, that was his shotgun. I don't know if a shotgun can hurt a crocodile, but it was all, he didn't bring a rifle or anything, but I just hear he was loading the shotgun. So that made me relax a little bit. And he just kind of kept an eye on it as well. And I think 5 minutes later or so, the crocodile just went back into the creek and swam off. So I guess it was just lying there to get some heat, just get warm from the sun or whatever. But yeah, quite a trip. That was the camping trip. Well, amazing. What an experience. I had a lot of other experiences at the farm, and as I say, I helped build this veranda, and it was hard work, and the reason for this was it was all built of steel. And they had to make it from steel because they were less than 60 kilometers from the coastline. And that meant that the house had to be, well, in that part of the world they call it cyclone proofed. Yeah, you know, when you have very bad storms in America too, but in Australia they call it a cyclone. In America you call it I don't remember. Oh well, you know what it is. You know what I mean. But so the house had to be cyclone proofed, and that's why everything had to be made of all the beams, and everything had to be made from steel, and it had to be welded, not screwed. And it was just a lot of work and kind of expensive too, and very heavy. But obviously they did this for safety, so understandable. We built this balcony, and Klaus, he also worked at in Darwin. So on weekdays he would go to work 6 o'clock in the morning. And well, while he was at work, I could not work on the balcony. I guess you would call it a patio, like you have in front of the house. They had one on each side of the house, or we were building on the back side of the house. They had on the front. When he go to work in the morning, I could not work on the patio alone. So I was doing other things. I was fixing their bicycles. It took me a couple of days because they had a bicycle each, and all of them were just, they needed to be fixed up, have new tires put on and new chain and all that kind of stuff. And Klaus, he told me if I could have a look at it if I had time, and it was like, as I say, I was part of the family. So he asked me if I would do it, and I could say no, I could say yes, but of course I said yes, because, well, I was there and I needed something to do, so I didn't get bored during the day. So I was fixing the bicycles, and I was cleaning the gutters, and I was doing all kinds of stuff like that. Just random jobs that I either Klaus asked me if I could do, or I just kind of spotted myself that, oh, this needs to be done. But we did a lot of things, and I really, really enjoyed being there. And I enjoyed this family. They were very nice people, and I had a great time there. I really did. I stayed there for a month and a half, almost 2 months, and then we had finished all the heavy lifting and all the heavy stuff with the patio, with the veranda, as they called it, and it was not like I didn't feel like they wanted me to leave, but at this point I figured I need to move on. I can't stay here. I need to get going and experience other things, the itchy feet. So I told them that I wanted to travel on and see other parts of the country, and also I told them that I was very happy and very grateful that they would let me stay, because it was not like hard work. It was most days I could have sat in a chair if I wanted to, but I found things to do, like with the nest. I always find something I can improve, something I can change, something I can make better. And so I had a great time there. But as I say, I felt like part of the family, and it was wonderful, really, really wonderful. And they were really, really sad when I told them I wanted to leave, and they were, they asked me if I couldn't stay longer, because they liked to have me there, and they enjoyed my company. And it was a hard decision, but still, if you got the itchy feet, you kind of have to move on, and so I did. But yeah, it was a great time. I told them that I wanted to travel on, and after I told them, it was actually like I think a week before I got everything together, and because, yeah, and they had some small projects they wanted me, and I think those projects were something they just came up with just to make me stay longer. So, but yeah, it was great, and yeah, even the young daughter, she enjoyed that I was there, you know, because when she came home from school, she would often ask me if we could go bicycling after I fixed their bikes. We could take the bike down to the creek. She knew a place where she could go swim, where there was no crocodiles, and we would get on the bikes and go down there. Her parents would not let her go by herself, so she was very happy that I was there, and I enjoy riding the bicycle and I enjoy nature, so sure, I could go with her to the creek and we could have a swim, and you know, and it was such a wonderful time, you know, just all the nature. I did go for some walks in the bush as well, and yeah, it was really amazing, and being part of a family in a country like this, you know, being invited in and become a part of a family is just amazing. It's really the best way you can experience a country. So yeah, I had a great time staying with this family. And now I told a few things from my stay there, but I could go on for hours about staying there, about all the great things and all the new experiences and all this. But well, I don't want to make this video is already very long, so I better cut it here. And but I think if I have the chance somewhere in the future, you know, it's always like that when I travel. If I have the chance to get to stay with some local people, in my mind, that is 100% the best way. And it's not because I can pay to stay at a hotel. I can not a hotel. I would never stay at a hotel, but I can pay to stay at a campground or a hostel or something like that. But it's just so much better to see the real country. You know, when you stay in there, when you stay with the local families, you don't see tourist country. You see the real thing. And that's why I travel. I want to experience, I want to see the real thing, the real country. So, but yeah, Australia, I for sure saw the real thing. And it was a wonderful experience. And we did send some letters back and forward after I got back to Denmark. But then, I don't know, it just kind of stopped. It's always like that, you know. So I lost contact with them. And, well, I guess that's the way it goes. But, yeah, that was Australia. That was just south of Darwin. Great place, great family, and great experience. So, well, that's my story for this time. And you know, life is good. You guys take care. Bye bye.